Iran Air Flight 655, an Airbus A300, was on its way to Dubai from Iran. It was carrying 290 passengers and crew. The flight was a few minutes behind schedule, but it was a short 28-minute flight. There were men, women, and children aboard. They had been informed they were now above the Strait of Hormuz, a relief for those eager to land. While the captain and crew monitored the plane, they were blissfully unaware that down below, in the ocean, a U.S. Navy vessel was preparing to fire 2 missiles at Flight 655 to bring it down. Chaos in the area. The Islamic Revolution broke out in 1979, and the Middle East was once again engulfed in conflict and devastation. Iraq invaded its neighbor the following year, and the United States decided to support Iraq's leader, Saddam Hussein, knowing both had a common enemy. Saddam Hussein's Iraq and Ayatollah Khomeini's Iran sought to gain the upper hand by deploying numerous armies, advanced weapons, and brutal tactics. The war raged for almost a decade and began to wane in 1988 when ceasefire negotiations commenced. Iran and Iraq suffered heavily, leaving behind a trail of destruction and loss. Trench warfare, chemical attacks, and indiscriminate bombings resulted in numerous civilian casualties, displacement, and entire cities reduced to rubble. International powers, especially the United States, played a significant role in the conflict. The U.S. government provided Iraq with weapons, supplies, diplomatic support, intelligence sharing, and economic flow. U.S. Navy vessels were deployed on the Saudi Arabian coast as part of the Middle East Task Force. These warships actively escorted Kuwaiti oil tankers through the Persian Gulf to protect them from being attacked by Iraqi and Iranian military personnel. Mistaken identity. The guided missile frigate USS Stark was protecting oil tankers on May 17, 1987, when she was struck by 2 Exocet anti-ship missiles fired by an Iraqi aircraft. The unexpected attack by a friendly aircraft took the lives of 37 U.S. sailors and severely damaged the vessel. At first, naval intelligence thought the strike was conducted by Iranian fighters, but the missiles were mistakenly fired by an Iraqi Mirage F-1 fighter jet whose pilot thought it was an Iranian tanker. Although the surviving sailors managed to keep USS Stark afloat, the incident highlighted the complexity of the war between the 2 Islamic countries. It gave the world a sneak peek into the volatile region. U.S. Navy officers learned from the mistakes and realized minor miscalculations and misidentifications could lead to catastrophic results. Every U.S. Navy vessel was put on high alert to prevent losing more men in the combat zone. Robo-cruiser. On April 18, 1989, President Ronald Reagan allowed U.S. Navy vessels to engage Iranian warships in neutral waters if they attacked merchant ships in the Arabian Gulf. This modified the previous rules of engagement, which only allowed U.S. Navy ships to maneuver aggressively to deter Iranian ships from attacking neutral shipping and only fire in self-defense. The escalation and aggressive expansion of the rules of engagement were due to the second incident a Navy vessel suffered in the Middle East. During the same month, USS Samuel B. Roberts struck an Iranian sea mine and suffered damage. American forces retaliated by launching Operation Praying Mantis to stop Iranian naval mining of the Persian Gulf. 2 oil platforms, 3 speedboats, 1 fighter, and 2 frigates were destroyed, reaching a total of 56 Iranian troops. Additionally, American naval power increased inside the Strait of Hormuz. On April 28th, Navy ships began to operate beyond exclusion zones, increasing the tensions between both countries in the Persian Gulf. The Joint Chiefs of Staff issued a NOTAM, or Notice to Airmen, advising all civilian aircraft in the Persian Gulf to tune in to the 121.5 MHz VHF International Air Distress Frequency for emergency messages and identification to U.S. Navy ships to prevent incidents. The Secretary of Defense also dispatched the Aegis cruiser USS Vincennes to the Arabian Gulf. She had the most sophisticated radar and anti-aircraft missile suite in the world. She was often called the Robo-Cruiser due to her powerful technological capability. Escalation. USS Vincennes was under the command of Captain William C. Roger III, who reportedly urged Joint Task Force Middle East to give his ship a more active role in the conflict by providing air defense coverage to friendly vessels. That soon came, as the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy and the Islamic Republic of Iran Navy escalated their naval operations in late May and early June 1988. Retaliatory attacks against neutral merchant shipping in the southern Arabian Gulf resumed, and the Iranians deployed 3 F-14 Tomcat aircraft provided to the country in the early 1970s. Although these fighters lacked air-to-ground capability when first delivered to Iran, the U.S. Navy knew the Iranians could have modified the Tomcats to carry ordnance they were not designed for. On July 2, 1988, the cruiser USS Halsey detected 2 Iranian aircraft near the Strait of Hormuz and issued radio warnings before they turned away. Hours later, the frigate USS Elmer Montgomery fired warning shots against 3 Iranian speedboats, attacking the Danish ship Kurama Maersk. The Italian speedboats resumed their attacks on neutral merchant ships on the morning of July 3rd. One Pakistani vessel was threatened, and the Joint Task Force Middle East commander, Rear Admiral Less, dispatched a helicopter from USS Vincennes to investigate. As a cautionary measure, Rear Admiral Rogers also ordered USS Vincennes to move 50 miles from her air defense station at Abu Musa Island to the northeast region of the Strait of Hormuz. As the robo-cruiser approached her new location, the American helicopter located the Iranian speedboats, targeting the Pakistani merchant ship. Things were about to get messy. Flight 655. The Iranian speedboats opened fire on the American helicopter, but no rounds made an impact. Still, the aircrew reported it was under fire, and frigate Elmer Montgomery and USS Vincennes raced into Iranian territorial waters to help it. This was a clear violation of Navy orders not to enter Iranian waters. Still, it was not reported to the higher-ups. 2 boats turned to face the U.S. Navy ships, while the others remained in the area. The American vessels opened fire against the hostile speedboats around 9:43 a.m. on July 3rd. The speedboats were only armed with machine guns and failed to hit USS Vincennes. The robo-cruiser, on the other hand, fired over 100 5-inch rounds that quickly got rid of the lightly armored boats, sinking 2 and severely damaging a third. While Vincennes engaged the enemy combatants, Iran Air Flight 655, an Airbus A300 with 290 people on board, took off from Bandar Abbas, an Iranian airport used by military and civilian aircraft. The flight was bound for Dubai and was 27 minutes late. Still, Iran Air Flight 655 was in able hands. 37-year-old Captain Mohsen Rezaian had registered over 7,000 hours of flight time and was aided by 31-year-old First Officer Kamran Teimouri and 33-year-old Flight Engineer Mohammad Reza Amini. As soon as it took off, the aircraft was detected by Vincennes' radar, alongside a Mode 2 military identification and friend or foe reading, possibly from one of the Iranian F-14s stationed at the airport. From there on, everything spiraled, and Flight 655 would be caught in an active war zone. Targeted. The Vincennes Aegis radar detected the aircraft's Mode 3 civilian IFF transponder, along with the Mode 2 from the F-14 on the ground. It was decided to accept the Mode 2, considering that Iranian military aircraft often transmitted in both. Meanwhile, Flight 655 continued toward the Persian Gulf. The airliner was transmitting the squawk code employed by civilian aircraft, maintaining radio contact with English air traffic control. The aircraft began to slowly climb to 14,000 feet before descending to Dubai to complete the 28-minute flight. As it made its way to the destination, it was picked up by another Navy vessel, USS Sides, led by Captain David Carlson. He had already been informed of the takeoff of Flight 655 and its designation as an F-14. The captain ordered verbal radio warnings that were left unanswered by the airliner. Carlson then ordered his ship's missile radar to paint the aircraft to get a reaction, but he got none. Only military aircraft with radar warning receivers could do so. Additionally, USS Sides did not detect any electronic emissions from an F-14. They informed the captain the target was in a gradual ascent, which led Carlson to conclude it was not an F-14 Tomcat, but a civilian airliner. Nevertheless, the captain did not inform USS Vincennes of his assessment, assuming she would have a better picture with her Aegis radar. He was wrong. Shootdown. Besides Iran Air Flight 655, other aircraft were in the air, including an American E-2C Hawkeye, one AWACS aircraft, and an Iranian P-3. When identified by Vincennes, the Iranian fighter replied that it would not approach the U.S. Navy vessels and wandered off. The contrary occurred with Iran Air Flight 655. USS Vincennes contacted the airliner 10 times, ordering it to identify itself, but received no reply from either IAD or NAD frequency. This led the crew to prepare to open fire. At 10:24 a.m., the cruiser fired two SM-2MR missiles at the Iranian airliner. One hit the tail and the other the wing. The plane immediately disintegrated and crashed into the water. There were no survivors of the 290 passengers and crew. The Iranian speedboats in the area immediately broke contact with the Navy vessels for a search and rescue mission. However, there was little to be done. The tragedy immediately led to political tensions between the US and Iran. As for the Navy, it was a shock that the world's most advanced anti-aircraft weapon system accidentally shot down a commercial airliner, mistaking it for an F-14. Rear Admiral William Fogarty led an investigation that concluded it was in fact a mistake, and Captain Rogers did not deserve disciplinary action, for he acted prudently. However, other Navy officers considered Captain Rogers to act over-aggressively and deserved punishment for the tragedy he caused. Whichever the case, the incident of Iran Air Flight 655 remains one of the darkest days in recent U.S. Navy history, and is still considered a deliberate shoot-down in the eyes of the Iranian people. Thank you for watching our video. Please like and subscribe to our Dark Documentaries channels to find more content about the Iran-Iraq War and other modern armed conflicts. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified of our newest videos.